They clashed, much like the Washington elites today have clashed with President Trump. And yes, beyond any doubt, the presidential election of 1824 was one of the most contentious in history, comparable to Trump's elections of 2016 against Hillary Clinton, 2020 against Joe Biden, and 2024 against Kamala Harris. In the election of 1824, the populist Jackson won the popular vote substantially, but he lost the presidency to Adams after the decision was taken up by the House of Representatives. Jackson challenged the integrity of the election, calling out the discrepancies. The nation's elites were determined to keep him out of Washington at all costs, though Jackson had handily beat Adams in both the popular vote and in the Electoral College. You know, yes, in some ways, we've been here and we've seen this before, and we've been here before, and likely I suspect that we will be there at some point again. Though unfairly defeated, Andrew Jackson never forgot that lesson in power politics. 4 years later, in 1828, he returned with a vengeance. He won the presidency, defeated Adams, and he ushered in a new era of American politics. As president, Jackson portrayed himself as a champion of the people. The ruling class in Washington schemed against him and longed for the day that he would be killed or sent packing. You know, in fact, he miraculously survived at least one assassination attempt during his presidency. That's another story, but it's really fascinating. In office, Jackson fought against the Bank of the United States, which he believed concentrated too much power in the hands of the wealthy few. During the nullification crisis in 1832, South Carolina threatened to secede from the Union, but Jackson stood firm, declaring that the United States, in its entirety, must be preserved at all costs. He forced South Carolina to back down. At the end of 2 terms, he left the presidency at the age of 70. He had only $100 in his pocket. His estate in Tennessee was deeply in debt. Back then, honorable leaders did not use their political positions to enrich themselves. Andrew Jackson lived a life of untiring action. He had so much energy. You either loved the man or you hated him with a passion. He was never perfect, but he was a man who refused to yield when convinced he was right. If Andrew Jackson had lost at the Battle of New Orleans and the British had captured that strategic entrance to the Mississippi River Valley, American expansion could have been halted at the Mississippi, and the history of this great country could be vastly different. The British were determined to retain and recapture large sections of America. But the Battle of New Orleans was decisive. It decisively ended the possibility of any further British encroachment.